Hello, fellow gamers. Welcome once again to Gaming Shelf Help. I'm Brad Davies.
I'm Drew Kochi.
And I'm Sarah Babe.
Excellent.
Oh, hi.
Welcome, one and all. Thank you for sticking with us for our intro, and now we're finally into the actual gaming portion of the games here. And this is our first one we're going to review. I think we got a really good one for you here. The game is called Household. It is a game by Two Little Mice, which is
Actual mice.
Not actual mice.
It's a company called Two Little Mice.
Yes.
Although
It could be Two Little Mice.
I mean, we have not seen them in person, so
We don't know for sure.
very true.
Reach out, let us know.
They are a small Italian publisher.
well, they're mice.
And mice.
We're a minute in and we broke Sarah already.
Sorry, it shouldn't be that funny. Well, they're mice.
Of course they're small. They're mice. They're two little mice at that.
So by Two Little Mice.
By Two Little Mice, the two founders are, and I apologize if I butcher your names, Rico Serginano and Simone Formicola. And Household originally came out on Kickstarter back on June 1st, 2020. Oh, I should say it funded June 1st, 2022. And it funded to the tune of $458,000.
Wow.
So, I mean, it was a pretty large Kickstarter. I actually backed it. Well, Sarah and I backed it. And
Yeah, for anybody who doesn't know, Brad and I are married.
What?
Yeah, I'm so sorry to break it to you, Drew.
so we funded it. We got there was several different levels. There was like the base level, then the deluxe edition, which of course we had to get because it was beautiful.
This is an adorable game.
It comes with 3 different books. It had the base core book. It has a saga of the Fragile Peace, which is their campaign book, and then a practical guide of living in the house, which is kind of like a setting book, kind of a dressing book that kind of gives you more ideas and whatnot, how you can run the game. It also came with several miniatures, I believe like 30 some odd miniatures that were of the characters for the campaign.
And they are good.
Gorgeous. It also came with a bunch of extra cards to help you run the game that had traits and other different accoutrements. It also came with these beautiful maps that are set in world. So like one is actually on the back of a candy wrapper. It's fantastic. I guess we should also say what the game actually is about. It is a game where you play as little folk in a house. Think of the Littlings, think of the Borrowers, maybe even Stuart Little.
Yeah.
Any game where you Redwall, any of those other sources of media where you play as a small person trying to live amongst the large people in their household. It is set kind of back in the Regency / Romance era. So the household is this large manse. It's got the upper stairs, and there's like a bedroom up there, and then it has the main dining hall with the chandelier and everything, and then the basement. And there's 4 different types of groups that vie for control of this house.
And these are like the races or species.
They're the types of fairies.
Right.
Yeah.
Because if anybody knows anything about fairies, it's not just look, it's a fairy. It's no, what kind of fairy is it? Because there's different kinds of fairies.
The origin story of the world is this. For a long time, the brownies lived in peace with the master who kept the house until one day the master left. And then they decided, well, we have to keep this house up and keep it together for when the master returns, because that's what the brownies always did. And then from there, it expanded out into other different fae folk. So the brownies became the boggarts, who their concept is we need to keep the house a whole. We need to be ready for when the master returns home. There are the actual fairies with wings that came in from the outside, and they kind of have that, we are now the lords and masters, so we're going to set up our own kingdom here. We found a new place to live now that our original tree had been destroyed. There are also the
sprites.
Yeah, the sprites
Have like an elemental twist to them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they split into 3 different types.
The sylphs, the salamanders, and the
Udin.
Udine,
Mhm.
I thought.
So like water, air, fire.
Mhm.
And then last are the group that came from the basement. They're a little bit of the outside group that were the last to arrive.
Those are the Slua.
And they have taken over the basement in their world there, and they are kind of trying to push up from the basement into the main area of the household. And the game starts off after the last Great War. So all the factions are at some sort of unquiet, settled peace, where everybody's tried to get along, but there's also the sins of the past that have been kind of stewing in the background. And that's where your characters are thrust into.
If you're looking at this book, whether it's PDF or it's the physical copy, the artwork is impeccable. It is absolutely gorgeous. Everything you see in the art of this book makes you want to add that particular picture into what your game looks like. It looks like they took Bridgerton and mashed it up with, the Borrowers. It's a very lovely, ethereal feel to it, while still feeling very relatable. Because granted, we're not like an inch or two tall, but you listen to the stories that they're being told of, like The Great Tree. If you read that from a little person's perspective, from one of the Fae folk, it's, it was absolutely devastating. From a normal human perspective, it was a branch that fell down into the house.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a neat perspective you get from all of these characters. And you look at their swords and their weapons, it's a
Swords are pins or halves of scissors
or needles. And like the thread can help them grappling hook things or tie stuff up, whatever you need to do.
They ride on mice.
Mm-hmm.
They use the porcelain for the tubs. That's the mine that they mine the porcelain for to make their armor for things.
Mm-hmm.
It's very it draws you in just with the artwork alone, but on top of that, the books are told in universe as well. So it does a very good job of striking that balance between telling you about the world and drawing you in, but also giving the mechanics.
Speaking of which, I'm a mechanics guy. I like some crunch.
Ugh.
Well, yeah.
I mean, that's okay.
So what are the mechanics of this system?
It's a field plus skill system. You basically have your 4 fields, so 2 physical, 2 mental, and then your skills kind of break down from there, and that gets you a pool of dice to roll. And when you roll your dice, you're not actually looking for high numbers or low numbers or anything like that. You're actually looking for pairs. So you get a pool of 5 dice, you roll them, you're looking for matching pairs. And on the very special dice that you got from the Kickstarter and stuff, they actually have the different suits of cards that you can match up. So if you get 2 diamonds, that's actually a basic success. If you get 3 diamonds, that's a critical success. The game master will set that difficulty for you. And there's different mechanics that allow you to push those rolls and change them and stuff like that.
I think one thing that I did find challenging about the actual mechanics of the game is I am used to severe consequences if I fail. But when you fail a roll, it's less severe in my eyes, and it's hard to grasp that sometimes because if you fail like a society roll, someone just looks at you down their nose. Like, it's not you're going to be stabbed with something because you called someone Mr. Smith instead of Mr. Jones.
Well, that it is a fail forward system. So when you do fail, you do take consequences that you can mitigate either by taking conditions or losing coins, which is your monetary wealth, or there's also a decorum stat, so you could lose decorum, which could either help or hinder you depending on where you're trying to go. Because remember, this is that Romance Regency era where people do care about your decorum.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess the consequences aren't necessarily like, oh, you fall in a pit and die. It's more along the lines of like, and now your next thing you try to do is much more hard or difficult, or you now have a different consequence that will pop up later. It's kind of
you don't fall in a pit and die, but you drop your weapon or your clothes get destroyed. So now you no longer look the
presentable.
presentable in polite society.
Yes, absolutely. And it took me a little bit to realize that when I was playing, because I'm so used to the consequences of a failure being terrible. Even in like fail forward systems, it's usually something bad, capital B bad, as opposed to just something inconvenient.
We'll get into this more in the full podcast, but I think you also have to remember that this is coming from inside the world you're living in, that where decorum is a very serious thing.
Yes.
Someone who is a rich noble of the Fae would definitely not be caught dead in anything that is remotely close to shabby clothes. So,
You know, it gives me, now that I think of it, and now that we're talking about it, it kind of gives me a very slight L5R feel.
I could see that, yeah. A little bit.
But I don't hate this. I'm not a fan of L5R.
It's less severe and less restrictive than
Yeah.
L5R. I guess with that being said, let's give everyone a little taste about kind of what our thoughts are on this, and then we can dive more into it in the full podcast.
This game is precious. It is pleasant.
Would you pitch this game to someone?
Yes.
Yeah.
100% I would. I might not necessarily pitch this to a group of murder hobos, but I would pitch this to any gaming group that I confronted.
Okay. And what's your favorite thing that you what would be the big pitch to them, provided that it's not the murder hobos, who are the people who like to just go around murdering literally every NPC they can possibly get their hands on. For
I'd be like, listen, you can have a pet bumblebee. How adorable is that?
That's the pitch.
That's my pitch. That's my pitch. You can have a pet bumblebee. It's super cute. You should play it.
All right.
Yeah, I mean that for my groups. That was definitely gonna be the pitch with one of them. Do you want to? Well, maybe not the pet bumblebee, but do you want to ride? Do you want to ride mice?
Yeah. Do you want to have a snail?
Right. Do you want to have a snail or the pet gecko? You know, that's your mount.
Gosh, the gecko! I forgot
Do you want to use a key as a sword? You know, you bash people with a screw.
Ooh, that's some Kingdom Hearts right there.
So yeah, I think with my two groups, I think I could easily pitch this to one. The other one I think would still be I would still bring it to them, but I think there'd be more discussion about the type of game and what it represents. That it's not a traditional hack and slash style game.
Yeah.
But absolutely, I thought it was great. To me, the biggest thing is the concept and the setting that the game is in is really fun, and I think would be a lot of fun to play in.
And for me, this game is a total win, 100%. I saw, as soon as I saw this pop up on Kickstarter, I was in 100%. And in fact, they did a 5e conversion. If you're more into that mechanic, I even was like, should I back the 5e one, even though I already have it? But
have the official one.
Yeah. So I have pitched this to groups before, and I pitched it 100% that way. I said, this game is about being a little person in a large world, and you can let your imagination run wild. I said that the game is so full of flavor and so well realized, and the artwork is beautiful. And I always start with the legend of, for the longest of time, the master lived in the household, and the little folk around him helped him out and kept up the place until one day the master left. What do you do? And I think that's a great launching off point from it. And then of course you can dive more into the other, this is the concept of the societies and stuff. And for me, I even like pitching the four different Fae folk, because they're all so unique and so different in their own way. And in fact, I haven't even gotten into the whole contracts that they have with the house and the concept of the house being a living character that has elements that make the Fae folk. So it's just layers upon layers upon layers of like diving deeper and deeper into this. So it's 100% win for me. I think you should pick it up even just to read it. It is available currently as a pre-order on their Kickstarter. So if you go to Household and look at it on Kickstarter, you can do the pre-order. You can also find the Household as PDF at DriveThruRPG.
Shout out to DriveThruRPG.
Heck yeah. That's our pitch for Household. I guess hopefully we gave you enough information for you to be able to take a look at it, decide if it's for your game group, if it's just for your game shelf, or if it's not for you. That's kind of what we're here for. Anybody else have any other last thoughts, I guess?
Bumblebee.
I mean, that's fair.
Yeah, that's
No, let's keep chatting about it.
All right. We're going to dive deeper into this, into our full podcast. If you want to join us on Patreon, we'll have the link down in the description. And we'll see you then, folks.
Bye.
Bye.